2 more things on my list to do yet today, so 3, I had to keep.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's November 20th at 1 o'clock. This is the Senior Services Advisory Board. You have in front of you the agenda for today's meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Hello, Cheryl. Not, I'll move the approval of the agenda. So moved. Second?
Second it.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Deb has brought the minutes. I'll give you a chance to read them over. It's so frustrating about those trips.
Well, at least you said we could announce it there, we could post it there, because that was something that we were having to fight to even speak, right, aloud in space.
Yeah, are we going to discuss? Are we discussing the minutes? Or no, we don't.
Well, we do. We review them and decide whether to approve them. If you want changes,
Oh, no.
I need to know. So,
No, I just, you know.
if there's anything
It's
you want to do,
everything looks fine, and this is what they told us. Yep, it's exactly what they told us. So.
I'll ask for the adoption of. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Call for the approval of the minutes.
Judy, I'm reading these, but I thought you said this as an addition would be $198,000. And I thought it was 107.
198,000
expansion to make that a 4-season room.
is 198,000 from the builder, because the whole thing has to be redone. The bracing underneath it's just for a porch; it wouldn't hold a whole room.
Okay.
And we wanted it to be a little bit.
foundational work.
Yeah. All those in favor of adopting the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you very much, Deb. Treasurer's report, I know there's no difference between now and last time, $37,106. We haven't raised any money. Marie's not here. I mentioned she's on her way. No public comment. Old business follow-up on our meeting with Ryan. He did say at the last meeting, not really reflected that way in the minutes, but that he would bring the topic of a parking study up to the township board and let them discuss it. And they have the public hearing on the budget on Monday night. The budget was not correct. They canceled the public hearing. So I was not able to speak during the public hearing on the budget. So I waited to the end of the meeting and to the public comment period, because practically the whole agenda was the budget, you know, approving salaries and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the meeting during the public comment period, I stood up to speak for the Senior Services Advisory Board, introduced myself in that manner, talked about the parking study and the importance of it, and Ryan sat there and said, oh, like he forgot, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fine, but never mind. And then I was going to talk after that about being open 5 days just to play cards, you know, no necessary that we be supervised, we just play cards. And the timer went off, and Ryan told me I had to sit down. And here I'm standing up there representing the Senior Services Advisory Board. We are advising them. So I asked for an extension. Could I have more time? And Ryan said, no, sit down. And there wasn't anybody else in the room to speak. There was no one else here.
Really rude.
And so, I mean, I didn't even sit back down. I just walked out and I said, that's very disrespectful. Anyway, so I did speak about the parking study. And I don't know if it'll be, so they had to close the budget meeting because the budget, Karen did something wrong and they had to redo it.
It was Karen? Because I wondered whose responsibility was.
Ryan said to her, the question he asked her was, what is our fund balance? After we do this budget, what is our fund And she couldn't answer the question.
There was a discrepancy.
And then she started looking further into the budget. She said, oh, this is wrong. I gotta go away for a minute. She give me 10 minutes. And so she was gone. They closed the meeting for 20 minutes. She was gone. And she came back and she said, we can't do this today. Anyways, so they are going to have a public hearing on the budget in 2 weeks. Again. And so when I left the meeting, I was very disgruntled. I mean, I was more upset than I've ever been in front of the board. Simply because if I had, and so then I said, well, I'd like to speak for Friends of Park Lake, if you don't mind. Your 3 minutes are up. Leave the podium. They wouldn't even let me speak on a different topic. So I left the meeting. And then Sherry said that during board member comments, at the end of the meeting, they have this round robin. And she said that she talked about,
I will continue what Judy was attempting to say.
Talked about being open 5 days and the value and the importance of being open 5 days.
And that it was truly, the camaraderie is so important. And I said, we pay heat and air anyway to understand how important this is as our senior proportion of our township grows and grows and grows, to close for no reason. So I said, and I was rude. I didn't even say goodbye to the chief or goodbye to Jack.
So at the end, during the round robin, all the other trustees spoke their accolades to the police chief because that was his last night to be president and he's retiring. And then that was Jack's last meeting because he did not win the election. He lost in the primary, so they thanked Jack for his service. But after our last meeting, while it was still fresh in my mind, I wrote an email and sent it to all the trustees about the parking study and about being open 5 days. So at least if they read their emails, they had a chance to read that. But like I said, I was totally disrespected and embarrassed for them.
Obviously, you did not have a response to that.
But
Obviously, you've not had a response to that email?
no,
No one has responded to it?
no.
Do you know how long ago you sent it?
I sent it Monday after our meeting.
So 3 weeks ago, solid.
Oh, yes, yeah. They have hired a recreation coordinator. It's a man. I do not know his name, although she did say it during the meeting. They don't speak into their mics, so you can't hear anything out there that they're saying. But they also increased the salary because he wouldn't come to work full-time for what they were offering. And so they don't have $2,000 for a parking study, but they can increase his salary. So he will get more money than was proposed in the budget. And he will start on November 25th, so hopefully we'll get a chance to meet the new recreation coordinator. I don't know what his name is. I hope he comes with some credentials.
Oh, goodness. We've had women in there, and they've had to work with the wages that they were offering, and you get a man in there, and they increase his wages? Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Okay.
And I haven't seen the budget, the latest version of the budget, so I don't know how much his wage increases.
So it depends on who applies as to the wage available. Got it.
Are they still, like, gonna be, is the senior center still gonna be, like, under him?
Recreation, activities and events.
Will be, specifically, those things will be under him?
Yeah.
So, so full-time, more money, and we can't stay open 5 days when you're gonna have a full-time employee that's gonna be doing activities.
That was my point, that there is no added expense to unlock the door.
Right.
Especially, I didn't even know when I went to the meeting that we'd already hired somebody. I'm not privy to that.
Right. That's a
Have they changed? That's
And
one
what
of
I
the
was-
reasons to say that it doesn't cost any more because you're already agreed to pay this guy more money and he is gonna be full-time.
And he should
And
be
it is
about
about activities.
Right, and he should be in there doing activities.
Yeah, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the meals are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so he could, you know, go on board after it's responsible.
Jack is being replaced.
Judy, have they proposed to change it to 3 days? Is that why this just?
In the budget, the budget proposal calls for the center to be open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, closed on Tuesday and Thursday. That's what the budget proposal calls for.
And the concern for me specifically, when they talk about numbers, is that Ryan had mentioned, you see that in the notes, that they have to cut $1.6 million from the budget. Show me the numbers, show me specific numbers on the savings of that action. Because I think it's negligible, if at all. I don't see it.
How does it contribute to the 1.6
Yeah,
million?
the cost, how does it play any kind of significant role compared to the significant role in the seniors? I just don't see it being sufficient. Whatever it is, it's not sufficient to offset the loss to the community.
That's why more than me need to go to these meetings.
And I'm sorry, I have a ministry on the third Monday night, and all day long I was in angst over it. I didn't know what to do. I really
Is the
wanted to
next one
comment, sorry.
December 2nd
It would be awesome.
The next-
second, yes. You have a way with
at 6?
speaking. Yes.
I really wanted to be there.
Unless they're gonna open it earlier for the budget, it's a possibility.
It's at 6 o'clock.
It's still 6, okay.
But that's in 2 weeks, so I can, in the second, third, that's the only other commitment I have in the world,
Right.
other than my dad. And Kathy will cover for my sister, will cover for me, so I should be able to be there now. Have it
The
on my
more
calendar.
people we can get from the community, I wish we could, because we're only changing one seat on the board, and we need to push.
You know, but some of us get very discouraged.
Oh, yeah, try sitting on the board, and it's
So,
like, I don't even know about a lot of the stuff that goes on, that factory is on hold now.
Is it?
That's what I understood, so, I've heard nothing officially. And that's,
I've seen them put bills on in the corner of the property right there.
It's a different piece of property.
That's what I
It's
wanted for one,
different.
it's adjacent though.
Jason, yeah, they're all owned by the same realtor, so, but just the fact that sitting on the board, I don't hear that was on hold.
Cutting the budget $1.6 million, hiring a full-time recreation coordinator, and then closing the senior center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Makes no sense. No.
It doesn't make budgetary sense.
It's just a smack in the face to our seniors. I mean, it's disrespectful and that.
So do we need to have the seniors sign some kind of
Petition?
petition? Because they're not gonna come to a night meeting, I know that. So can we have them
Especially
sign
if it's
some kind of petition to present to the Board of Trustees?
Why not? There's no reason why we
I don't know what it would hurt.
Right. No,
But you know, this,
game.
this thing, and I didn't put this in the minutes, but when Ryan was here, we, talked about the adversarial relationship that exists, and that was not our desire to be adversarial. We simply want a professional interaction and communication. He said the letter that we sent was confrontational. It's historical.
The letter that we sent.
Historical can be confrontational, but I'm not saying that, that Ms. Hildebrandt was intentionally misdirecting the use of those funds. I'm saying she, out of ignorance, did not know the history of how those funds were raised, the assertions that were made to those who contributed, to those who participated, to those who organized and planned. I think she felt in good faith that she could justify the spending of that money because it would technically enlarge the footprint of the senior center. But that was never the intention. The intention was for the use by our seniors. That was the increase in the footprint, not for staff, but for our seniors. And so we felt it was important to explain, and you had some great suggestions on how to tweak the letter, which we did. And so this was our way of saying, we get that this is what you think, but this is the fact of it. And to really use integrity, we have to honor the history and the reality of how this money came into existence. And he considers that confrontational. I don't at all. I think it's informational.
It's the same thing we went through this last board meeting of the bath days. and if I donate $1,000, we need to keep it in the township, not put it in George's account, so that George can then say, no more bath days, and it's his money now. So
There's been a proposal by some community members that they restart up what was Bath Days, and they'll call it the Bath Summer Festival, because Bath Days, that is owned by the nonprofit, Bath Days nonprofit, which they haven't dissolved yet. And people came from the planning committee and asked the township if they would be the fiduciary for the Bath Summer Festival. One, to support it and be a sponsor, and secondly, to be the fiduciary, so that Hank from Hank's Builders could write a check for $500 to support the summer festival, and not have to make it out to Andy, the chairperson of the rec committee, but write it out to the township that it would be legit, more
This is so
legit.
similar. It's like the money was given for a purpose.
Right, and they said that there was precedent for that, that there was in the township precedent for that, being the senior center. Anyways, grant subcommittee, so could you call a meeting between now and Christmas of that group?
Yes, and I will talk to you after this meeting and set a date.
Yeah. 2025 budget again, as I said earlier, decrease in hours
So do you think?
and increase in the meal price. They're recommending in the budget that the meals be $5 to anyone 55 and older.
And I have no objection to the $5, I think that's fine. But do you think we should, back where we were talking, come up with a petition
I think it would be a good idea.
and have people sign it?
Can you do that? Do you have a printer? Could you do that? That would be great.
I'll need somebody to help me word it, but yes, I will. A petition to stay open 5 days.
Right. We have 5 openings on the Senior Services Advisory Board in January. Thank you, Jean, for reapplying. But
Am I gonna hear from somebody or not hear from?
you'll be appointed, hopefully. We're losing Ben. Deb, I hope you'll reapply. I think you're up.
I'm not up till next year.
You're not up till next year.
You'll be there.
So it's Ben and Dennis. Dennis is not going to reapply. And who else did I say it was? Jean. So, all right, so I'm encouraging people to reapply. Under new business, I was asked by the County Board of Commissioners if I would serve on the Tri-County Office on Aging Senior Advisory Board and represent the township. And it's tomorrow. It goes before the Board of Trustees tomorrow. The County Commissioners tomorrow. I filled out the application and accepted the appointment. Should they appoint me to do that? It's the second Thursday of every month or something. But I feel like, as I stated in our last meeting, that there's a great opportunity for us to partner with the Tri-County Office on Aging for programs and services, far beyond what we're doing right now. And I see this as a way to strengthen that partnership. And I've talked to a couple of county commissioners. It was a county commissioner who asked me if I would do this. And so I said yes. So I will, if they appoint me tomorrow, be on the Tri-County Office on Aging Senior Services Advisory Board, representing the township. Thank you. Do we have a Board of Trustees update?
I think I just did.
Budget hearing December 2nd?
December 2nd, we're going to go through all this again. I'd be great if we could have that petition to bring to the board, you think, if we can? And how can we get the word out to get signatures?
To get what?
To get signatures on that petition. I mean,
Well, between
We'll
that,
have it available at the senior center.
yeah, we'll have 100 signatures by
Because it's important that the people that come to the senior
Yeah.
center sign it.
on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
especially but all of them, that's maybe the
People that aren't coming to the senior center, I mean, they could sign it, but if they don't come,
No, we can get it signed by probably 100 people.
mhm.
Now, I bring that to the board, definitely, but this is not liked in the community.
What are the rules to do a
It's
petition?
very unpopular.
When you're elected, you're supposed to, this is one of my points, is one of the things I want to bring up, and you guys can tell me whether you agree, may I ask this of your opinion, that when anyone, we're 4 years now for this board that's elected, and that our voters voted in a certain order of who was next if somebody drops off, and I want to see that respected as the voters, and this too goes to that idea, and I can lump them together, that we're supposed to represent the voters. And when there's a vacancy and that board just gets together and says, George is our perfect person because he fits, I don't,
You won't argue with that.
yeah.
That's what Ryan told me. That they
it's all-
did not let Guy because,
And Guy again is the next person in line.
right, they didn't want him because, they wanted someone who was going to get along with them.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's,
So these
but
two,
that's not what,
they can go together.
The
because
votes.
it's voters.
and how, but what would change that? Because that attitude on the current board of trustees is not going to change. So what would be required for them to actually honor the actual vote results? I mean, well, to me, it seems like would have to be, some type of rule would have to be.
But that's what I would policy, that would be my policy, is to propose a rule or a policy that is, as long as they apply, like if Guy applies and anybody
Right.
else does, that because he had the next number of votes, it's how you put somebody in a position, and I couldn't get a second on that last year, 2 years ago. I couldn't get one person on the board to agree with me. Now perhaps I can, but
So,
still.
but I feel like the fact that they wouldn't second it and the fact that they are very open about the fact that they don't want anyone who's going to give them a hard time tells me that they're not going to be interested in creating a rule. But we have no control over that.
Right.
We can
We can
ask,
make it public, at least I can
yeah,
make it
let
public.
people know that it is your
These are-
desire and this is the reason why, and it best honors the results of the election.
Right.
You know, I agree, I think it's
As
appropriate.
this petition, to me, they go together, it's like,
No, they have two separate issues.
that's where our people want, though.
Well, it has the same spirit,
Same spirit of
of, yeah.
giving to what the voters and the people of this community want. The petition, it is very similar in,
Does it matter that not everyone is of this community? Because we have several people that maybe East Lansing or DeWitt or.
I think we should ask it to be voted.
Well, is the petition to keep the
Residents.
center open 5 days? We don't have to give their address, we just want signatures.
Okay, sure.
Oh, we want signatures of people that are using the senior center.
Of course, yes.
We don't want the guy across the street to.
No, we just want
sign.
senior center signatures.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The issue of how an appointment should be, vacancy should be filled, is a policy issue that the board wrestles with. And there is a policy which says that they take applications, they interview the applicants, and that they vote. The way they vote is wrong. Let's say Sally Abel, they take the interviews in alphabetical order. So let's say Sally Abel interviewed, gave her a little speech, and then they vote. Should we appoint her? And the first person to get 5 votes is appointed.
Instead of giving everyone the
Instead of giving everyone the opportunity.
That's not quite true,
Well,
because
that's how they've done it in the
but there
past.
was not even, Jack did not check.
And this man, they appointed Jack without even coming for the interviews.
I never,
Everyone interviewed but Jack, and they appointed Jack.
Did he get reelected?
He's gone now. He had his
was
last
the
day.
one that lost.
So a new trustee will be sworn in on Wednesday next week. His name is Ray Cockey. He's lived in the community his whole life practically. He owns property down on Park Lake. He is often heard talking about the nature trail. He's a vice president of Friends of Park Lake.
I have a question, can we legally do a petition? There are rules for petitions. And can we not call it a petition? Call it a list of signatures that from the senior center? I mean, if you look up petition, there's rules. Maybe blah, blah, blah.
Supporters of the senior.
Well, you don't have to call it a petition.
Okay, so I would stop calling it a petition.
Call it supporters of the senior.
There you go.
Yeah.
Supporters of the senior
Well,
center, open every day, 5 days a week. Yep.
5 days a week.
That's because, if you call it a petition, they're gonna say, it's not a legal petition, screw you. So, okay.
And we don't want unsigned that.
No.
I
There you go.
disrespectful. We wouldn't like it. We wouldn't like it. Okay.
So the Board of Trustees has no vacancies right now.
Correct. They've all been
In
elected.
4 years, my suspicions are that will be 1 or 2 at least.
The current board has 3 people on it who were appointed. Kate, Cheryl, you were elected that way for 2 years, and Jack,
Ryan, Jack,
and Ryan. So the only actual person who was left on the board after 4 years, who was elected 4 years ago, was Al Rosecrans. And Brenda. And Brenda. Because Jennifer was appointed too. Until she was just elected. So almost all of them were
I was
appointed.
elected midterm. So you made a comment there are 5 open positions, but then you thought mine was expiring. Are there really 4 then?
It must have been, I tried to get it on my email to see what
I just want to
table.
make sure I put it right in the minutes.
Then,
I know what it is, we had an existing vacancy because Helen Murphy passed away. I'm sorry, she stepped off. Her term expired and they didn't reappoint her.
So we have how many openings?
Right now, we have, we have, the ones that are expiring is Ben, Dennis, Jean, and then Helen, because she got off and they never reappointed her.
So
Dennis isn't coming back, so we have three vacancies probably. And so if you know anyone,
this is a 9-position board then.
right, if you know anyone at the senior center that is a Bath resident and would be interested in serving, I don't know where Judy lives, I know she plays cards, I don't know where she lives, but she would
Judy
be
that I'm aware of, she's not on, but there's a Judy that lives right up here at the parks, Somerset Parks. Somerset County.
Oh, maybe she does live at Somerset.
Gerard, you talking about Judy Spratling?
Yes,
She lives in Bath Township.
she might be good.
Doesn't have to be senior, right?
No, they have to be a Bath Township resident.
But not senior.
They have to be a senior, 55 or older.
To be on this board?
No,
That's
I
not-
misspoke. They don't have to be a senior.
Okay, all right, that's what I
We've had many people on the board several people on the board who weren't seniors.
And we can look a lot younger too.
Yeah.
If we want to, that's on us.
so,
Okay, who's dangerous? No.
And Ryan, of course, you fill out an application and Ryan selects and then the board approves. So, Nancy and Dana and I were all reappointed at the beginning of this year.
In this year?
We were reappointed in 2024.
Okay.
And Ryan said, oh my gosh, we have to put up with you for another 4 years.
So they denied me the first time, correct? They voted against me
yep, you're right, they did.
What?
to be on the board and done this board.
Yep, she's right.
My name was put up and they all voted against me.
There was a reason for that, but I can't remember what it was.
They said somebody was cloudy or murky or something. Not me, I don't think.
Yeah, it was fine.
And then somebody said, you know that's Tim Church's daughter? Because I don't think they even knew who I was.
Right.
And, yeah.
So, the 2-year terms, right, so we started here in 22. Nancy?
Okay, I got this is like a third time,
Yep, third year.
He selects on the board appointment.
so 22, 23,
No, just
Any other public comment?
23 and 24.
Move for adjournment. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say aye.